Welcome, everybody. I am here with the wonderful and talented Sheldon Reynolds. Thank you so much for being here.
I am honored, and I thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I got to chat with you a little bit at a party in LA, and you started telling me a beautiful story about losing your mom and finding other family members. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what that was like for you?
It's a long story, but I guess we could say I lost my mom in 2005. I had lost my dad a year before that. Upon losing my mom, I also went through the beginnings of a divorce. So the combination of all those things together would make anybody a little bit, heavy-hearted, heavy spirit. But when I drove from Seattle, where I was living, back to LA, I slept one night under Mount Shasta, mountain up there in Oregon State. And I remember feeling this calmness telling me that this is just part of your journey. Don't get down. There's something you're going to find out that will change your life. A few months later, after getting back to Los Angeles, my son found me.
Wow.
We had been told a story that he wasn't my child. And instinct told me when he found me that this wasn't an accident. Mom had just passed, and I felt that calmness that was talking to me in the truck was her. And people call it spirit, angel, whatever voices, whatever you call it. The most positive thing came to my spirit. It was the one person that I wouldn't be scared of. I remember talking to him and just saying, because we had actually done the test before, and we told it was negative.
Oh, interesting.
But we decided to do it again. This time just between the two of us, and nobody else knew about it until I got it approved. And a couple of days later, got confirmation he is my son.
Wow.
Bryce.
Nice. And how old was he when you found out and got that confirmation?
I'm getting old. He would have been still in college, so 21. I think so, maybe 20.
So he found you.
He found me.
A test came back negative, but the two of you didn't give up.
No, he didn't give up.
You didn't give up.
I had trusted somebody's word. I remember thinking, I really thought he was my son.
So you felt it.
Yeah, because I had met him before, and I remember feeling the magic of that bond that people seem to have with their children. I just remember he came backstage, and I just thought, that's my child. But at the time, I was given so much stuff that was going on that I didn't believe the source that was telling me he was my son. Lo and behold, they were telling the truth.
Wow. So when you got that knowing, when you feel like your mom was telling you it's okay, you're going to get some good news, was that before the first test or the second test?
Before the first.
Okay.
And second test, I had just spent a whole lot of time with Bryce. And he said at Christmas, it can't get any better. And I said, never say never. And I didn't know this, but a month later, I got another email from my daughter. But I didn't know that she was my daughter. I never even knew she was alive. I remember going online one night, opening this email and seeing this absolutely gorgeous woman with green eyes and a whole gang load of hair. And I'm thinking, who's this trying to hit on me? This little young girl. I was like, you gotta get me thrown in jail. What are you doing? And I just remember sitting there looking at her going, she looks familiar. And then I just started crying because I know she looked like my mother. She had my mother's eyes and presence. And she stated in front of from the get-go, she said, I don't know if it's true, but blah, 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 blah. I think I'm your daughter. And if it's a lie, I'm sorry to bother you, or whatever.
So she was very respectful.
Yeah, but I kept looking at the picture. I couldn't have read because I was crying already from looking at the picture. And I said, that's my child. I just said, we gotta get a test. I called her up the next day and said, we're gonna get a test. We did a test, and it came back extremely positive. And that's the same day I wrote a song that was released by Brian Culbertson and myself that went #1.
And the name of that beautiful song?
Always Remember. By that, a lot of stuff happened between that, but by the time that it got to her, I thought I had seen everything at this point.
Wow.
But I hadn't.
Oh, there's more.
Because a month and a half after that moment with her, my first love found. I mean, all this seems like coincidence, but we hadn't talked in many years, and she had gone online to see how I was doing. And she got online, she discovered Mom had passed. She found a website I had put together for myself to talk about family and everything else. And so when she read that, she said, he's not all right. So she did some digging, and she found me, and I'm still married today.
Wow. First love.
First love.
Okay, so from the time that your mom passed to finding your son,
Mm-hmm.
to finding your daughter, and being
Right.
reacquainted with your first love,
Mm-hmm.
what was that time span?
It was a roller coaster ride. There was a lot of negativity going on. Negativity was not strong as possible. I was going through an ugly separation and divorce. If it hadn't been for the discovery of my kids, I probably wouldn't have survived.
Wow. So they gave you something to look forward to.
Yeah, that was the gift of Mom had been part of. She didn't get to meet her own grandchildren while she was here, but she got a chance to deliver them.
Wow.
You know, because they all talk about this sudden need in the same time period that I was going through the change from Seattle to here. It was like they all say, both my kids and my wife will say something strange happened around that time that made them want to find out about me.
They just felt the pull.
Yeah. My daughter had gone her whole life not knowing who her father was. She had been told somebody else was, and she didn't believe it. And she finally had enough evidence to try to dig it up. And she went online one day with her co-workers. She found a site with me on the guitar playing with Earth, Wind and Fire. She looked at him, and all her friends said, "That's your daddy right there."
Wow.
It's pretty obvious.
So when your mom passed, how many months was it from her passing to son, daughter, and then love?
Mom passed November 2005. Then Bryce found me, which is interesting. It's very deep here. I'm trying to keep up with me if I can keep up with me.
Okay.
I separated from my ex on Easter weekend. A few months later, which was in July, my son found me. Keep in mind that month. A year and a half later, my daughter finds me in January 2008. My son was born in January. My daughter was born in July. Only in reverse.
Right.
You know, she came first. My divorce became final on my mother's birthday. After all the rigmarole that went down, it ended up being a very positive, see you later, have a good life, whatever was going on. And I remember as a picture I have online somewhere, I'm looking down into Mount St. Helens, flying back from Seattle after the court had settled. And it was, happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that my son found me in July, which was my daughter's birthday. My daughter finds me in January, which is his birth month. It was just, as much as there was some reasons to be challenged and easily could have been depressed about a lot of stuff. At that point, I'm finding out truths about so-called friends, so-called family, real friends, real family. You know, people are coming, it's like a whole change of the guards going on.
Wow, so everything was shifting.
Yeah, I'd come back from having been with Earth, Wind and Fire, been involved with another major estate who I was married into. And suddenly I was sitting in a silent apartment. Just when I would go, oh, my son, my daughter, my first love, you know, happy birthday, Mom. All that stuff came in. And then another interesting date is that I said Easter, when I separated from my ex. The following Easter, my kids came to my house and met each other in my house on Easter.
For the first time.
For the first time.
You've got some good dates.
I mean, that don't make you believe in God. I don't know what else will.
All this orchestrated by your mom.
Yeah, it all worked out at the end. And then the song that we wrote when my daughter was found, when she found me. Went #1 officially in June, which was my mother's birthday.
Wow.
And I dedicated the words that I sang to her, not knowing it would, come out or be released and be, #1 on the week of her birthday. Celebrated.
What was her name?
Very well. And it's in that same week as my wife's birthday.
So have you always had this doo-doo energy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've always believed it exists because, I can get into, how do I say this? I would say I've always believed that there's much more than what we understand going on. Simply, we just look at the evidence we find all over the planet of societies that lived long ago who weren't just savages and uneducated. They built the pyramids. They built Stonehenge. They built pyramids in Mexico. There was a lot going on. People would tap into something a long time ago
that we still can't explain.
Right. You don't lift all those big old rocks and make a pyramid. Not one, but hundreds of them all over the planet. When you look up into the universe and see that we're not the center of it at all, and there's 93 million miles separates us from the sun, and just at the right point where we don't burn up or get too cold,
Another coincidence. The Earth is placed just where it needs to be.
Right. No other planet in our solar system yet has been discovered to fit the bill. There's candidates that may have water for sure, which could be aquatic life. And I'm sure we're going to find out pretty soon about that.
So that brings us to another topic, another passion of yours, which is the stars and looking out of telescopes. Can you tell us a little bit about what fueled that passion?
God. That's all I'm looking for, is to understand God.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be Stephen Hawking, who I look up to, and Einstein, and all those people. I have a fascination for that, of course. But the real search is for God. It's more to understand the wonder that we are a part of. When people say, they have different beliefs about God and religion and all that stuff, I just say, well, think of it this way. We sit in this universe that we can see, we've studied. And it could be this big, it could be this big, it could be this big, whatever it is. It may come from the Big Bang or whatever. Still, it's what we've discovered so far. There's something outside of it. We've pretty much concluded that the universe is finite, not infinite, which means there's a starting point and an ending point somewhere. So what's out there? Is that empty nothing or nothing but God? That's my fascination right there. All this in it is fascinating as well. But I'm really trying to figure out what's out here.
It's also a perfect analogy for our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
We think that our universe is us and what we can see.
This is our world. Pay the bills and deduct the bill collector when we can't pay the bills. Don't answer the phone. I don't know you. Mm-hmm.
But there's so much more outside of us.
So much. I remember sitting on a flight with a guy sitting next to me was an atheist. The guy next to him was a theologian. And I'm the curious one, know everything, don't know nothing. And I remember the guy said, I don't believe in no God. I said, it's your freedom, you can believe what you want. I don't hold it against you. But what do you believe? Oh, the Big Bang. I said, well, yeah, I believe in the Big Bang too. Really? I said, yeah. I said, it doesn't mean that if there's a Big Bang, there's no creator. It just means that's his method. So I said, you love your wife? He said, of course. I said, prove it. When I buy a flower, I didn't say that. I said, prove love. Can't see it, but everything in you tells you it's there, right? When you breathe every day, you don't see what's going in and out, but you know it's there, right? If it stops, you don't know it's not there.
Yeah. You'll know rather quickly.
So when I explained to him that, then the theologian on the other side said, well, think of it also this way. We only know what we know. No human being has been past the moon yet. So how do we know anything? We're just trying to get to Mars because we got evidence that might conclude that there's been something there before and maybe still there. It's at some underground level or something. I'm fascinated with all that.
It's a lot to be discovered.
yeah, that's the music in me today. Trying to inspire young people, older people. No matter how tough life gets, there's always a ray of light somewhere in the mix. I've lived a life where at the darkest hour, when there was no answer, I mean, nothing, shaking with Parkinson's and all that stuff. And yet, something happens that says, I'm still with you. I know it's tough. There's a reason, and we'll find out eventually. So just, woosah.
Just keep looking for that light.
Right. And surround yourself with light people, people of the light.
Have you always had that kind of outlook growing up, being a musician, traveling around the world?
Well, not as experienced as that. Of course, I was young, crazy, and never did drugs, but I was, part of a world that was, to say the least, a little wild compared to most people's lives. So, but always deep down, there was a wish to understand the higher things. Ever since I was a kid, music brings that in. I used to say when you hear Jimi Hendrix or George Benson or Stevie Wonder or Sting or a gang of really high genius musicians, there was a moment where they were free. The strength of their talent had overtaken any limitations that kept them from expressing themselves.
Right.
They may have been shy to talk or write or sing or whatever, but they reached that moment of freedom, and we luckily got it on recordings around the world. I just want to inspire young people to know they can be free.
That's a huge gift, to have a feeling of freedom. We grow up in this world trying to live by our parents' rules and live by society's rules.
Right.
Kids are being medicated.
Being medicated and steroids.
Everything trying to fit in, and all any of us wants is to feel that freedom.
Right. I love when they advertise some sort of health aid, and then they spend 10 seconds telling you it'll help you, and like 2 minutes telling you what it'll kill you. I'm gonna take that? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So music is a wonderful healing tool on so many different levels. And you have a fun new way to get your music out there with the My Ditty Dog tags.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the My Ditty Dog tags?
Closed secret.
It's a closed secret. It's out.
Oh, it's out? Oh, okay. No, it's a very exciting project and product that allows you to record several songs on basically a dog tag, but very eloquently, or however you want to design it yourself sometimes. And you can eventually do it through Bluetooth, upload personal I love yous, all kinds of really sweet stuff. As we speak, it's getting expanded more and more and more in technology. But the basic idea is just that it's a way of advertising your product or your brand or famous songs or musicians or whatever that are dear to you. You can have them right on your dog tag. Hear them as you do it. Change the greetings back and forth anytime you want. It's really cute.
Okay.
I mean, it's very, very cute.
And the Sheldon Reynolds dog tags, do they come preloaded with music already?
I don't know what to think about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
What songs do you think are on there?
There's one called The Answer, and then there's one my wife singing called Precious Lord, which is a classic, gospel tune. She sings like a bird. I'm actually ashamed of singing in my own house nowadays.
Oh, her voice is so melodic.
No, she make you cry. Just sing 2 words. Feel better now. It's a very exciting project. We've got a lot of different versions that we're working on. And we're working on something that may have something to do with space.
Well, wouldn't that be fun?
I'll never tell until it's done.
Okay.
Like, those who pray, keep it in prayer.
Okay. So are there any other projects that you're working on right now with music or with space?
Well, we're actually trying to develop, I'm a little early on all the specifics yet, but we're trying to develop a TV show.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting where we're going to be dealing with musical heroes. That's all I can say.
Musical heroes.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Coming to get you.
So it just keeps going.
Well, I mean, you have to. I mean, there are times with, I don't complain. I'm dealing with Parkinson's, but you very seldom hear me complain about that. Because I've been blessed far too often to travel the world 4 or 5 times and seen the ugly as well as the beautiful parts of life. I just think it's a beautiful world. There's a lot of crazy folks in it, but usually good overrides all that at some point. I think when you give up, you let darkness win. And I have no intention of letting darkness win.
Do you have a gratitude practice or any other spiritual practice or something that helps you stay in the light or stay in that frame of mind to look for the light?
Part of it is looking up in space. Looking up at the telescopes. I'm very, very happy to have the Celestron killer telescope, and it allows me to look up and behold all the wonder that's out there. But as far as the first part of your question, I like to go to a quiet spot. It can be in the house, out in the desert, or a mountain, whatever. I'm not too keen on mountains. Don't like to look down. But I tend to like to let myself hear my spirit. And my spirit is the one thing that is connected with the Most High. However you want to call him, God, whatever you want to call him, it's still the Most High. And I can usually hear him best when it's quiet. That way I know I'm not misunderstanding anything. I told you to go that way, not that way. So now you got to find your way back. I tend to like to find some way of silence. And that's a challenge of its own, because life is so busy sometimes you can't breathe. And I like to breathe. And that gives me more inspiration than anything. Or when my wife, my kids call up and for no reason and say, "I love you, Dad, I love you. You okay?" And you can say, "No, come see me." Anyway, that's kind of like that's it. I like to find silence and I pray every morning when I wake up and give thanks that I'm up, because I've seen in more recent years the departure of a lot of my heroes and friends who people who changed my life. There are times when I boo-hoo pretty heavily in those years, the last few years. Follow the light.
Follow the light. So do you have any advice for the younger generation?
Vote. please vote quickly. I was very proud of our young people today. What I saw on TV it brought me to tears, I have to be honest. Because it was like, we often see kids and we say they don't know what they're doing, they're too young, they're not ready to take leadership. The day is not over yet, but they managed to spend a whole day around this nation peaceful. And they could have went wild and crazy like young folks can do sometimes. But do that. That'll change the world. The thing that I hope in the young is that things like what today showed is that there's a reason to have hope. Because what I got from my own kids, talking to them over these last several years, is there's a sense of hopelessness with the young people. That's so sad. They got better technology than we ever had and will have, whatever. They've got access to millions of documents in the library right in a little box of a computer and telephone.
At their fingertips.
Doggy tags. It's like there's all sorts of reasons to have hope. But they watch the TV and the TV gives them hopelessness. So many reality shows and are non-reality. I hope that the young will prove us all wrong. Make us wrong. You want the adults to be wrong anyway, so do something right.
Look for the light. Do
right,
something
look for the
right.
light. All those things that our great-grandfathers and mothers told us to do. They were onto something. Just remember, it's like the pyramids were built by people who we can't even figure out how they did it yet. It was 6,000 years later.
There's always something new to discover, even if it's in the past.
Yeah. So I have a lot of hope that the kids are going to turn it on. Because I always say, whenever you want something to change, grow new grass. it's unaffected by so much, life and damage and preconceived notions that they no longer. Because a lot of times, when in the music side, when a new artist comes along, it's just free. They're just playing. They just love music or love acting or whatever they do. When they become famous, they go through so much stuff with the industry that they can become self-defeated. Before they even try a project, they're like, oh, no, it won't work because, da da da, and this executive in the way of politics and blah, 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 blah. They're talking to them right out of it. But when they were first getting in the door, let's just do it, let's just play, And that's where the energy comes from, pure energy.
So how do you sustain that for being somebody who's in the music industry and still finding the joy in the music?
The people that were with you when you walked in the door, keep them with you. Usually that's family or someone that's a true friend, because they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you look stupid today or good job, champ. Keep those people with you at all times, because if you fall into the trap of quote unquote Hollywood, you're going to get jaded, because there's going to be so many bad knuckleheads coming around that eventually you're going to get where you start writing songs that are about bad knuckleheads all the time. Nobody wants to buy that.
So keep the friends that you came in with.
Keep your friends and family that you came in with. Keep them with you, even through the tough time. Keep your head on straight. Realize I'm a living example. When I landed in this town, I was playing with the Commodores. When I got to LA, I went down to the Guitar Institute just because I wanted to see it. I heard about it. I got down there and I felt more thankful than when I first arrived, because there was 8,000 guitar players that could have took the same gig I had. I came from Cincinnati. Very fortunate to get that call. Could have been anybody in that school that I went to. They could have walked in the rehearsal and said, I can play the parts. Just remember, you're part of a whole lot of people that have the same talent. So be thankful that you get through. If you don't get through, at least you tried. If you don't try, I have a lot of friends who we're now getting older, and they didn't try when they had a chance. And they always say, man, you took the chance, you took the risk. So I'm still taking the risk.
So that's another good point then, is to take the risk.
Take the risk. I mean, don't be stupid and just start walking to LA from New York. Have some kind of plan if you can. But don't be afraid to take risks. Most things that come to you don't come without some kind of risk. A lot of people end up on trailways and Greyhound buses going back to where they came from. Could have been happening, but at least they tried.
Anything else that you want any of our listeners or viewers to know?
Well, I got this guy going on sometimes.
Talk about Parkinson's?
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, it's part of life.
And what part of the Parkinson's would you like to talk about?
The cure. If you got a cure out there, you think work, let's try it. No wacky medicine, though. But I think it's, from my perspective, is what I celebrate. Or not celebrate, but my take on it. I watched Maurice White, the leader of my group, disappear from this. I've seen several other people who are not so famous disappear with this. But I've seen more people still here. It's not a death sentence. It can be if you don't take care of yourself. If you look at it from my perspective, I've been blessed to do a whole lot of life. So if I'm getting a little shaky every once in a while, thank you. It could be something else. It could be an alligator chasing me down the street, a lion. So.
Yeah, LA has an alligator problem.
Right. You see one, let me know.
So is there a specific message that you want to give to other people who are struggling with Parkinson's, or to future scientists who might be able to find a cure?
Well, there's all sorts of things being tried right now. I take the conventional medicine, but I also take a herbal supplement from a company that is making something that helps me to keep my balance a lot better. It's not a cure, but it definitely helps. And there's other medicines that are good, but the thing that comes to my mind most is that when I perform nowadays, I don't do a whole lot of performances, but I do perform with a group called Kalimba. They're like an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute act. And they're really, really dedicated to bringing an honor to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I go out and do shows with them sometimes. And whenever I go out there, I'm usually doing either 5 to 10 songs, depending on how I feel. Most of the time, I end up doing 10 songs. Because before I go on, I'm shaking or I'm feeling, unplugged, as I call it. But as soon as I get that rush of the love between the audience and myself and the group and back and forth, I'm 19 again. I forgot about Parkinson. And the balance is temporarily perfect. So whatever's kicking in with that exercise and adrenaline, something in there is helping Parkinson's, but they haven't captured it to make it a permanent fix. Something works. Something in the body naturally works. For a temporary few minutes, it's not there. And I think if they keep the research going, they're going to figure that out somewhere in that pocket. It has something to do with some combination of body fluids and brain and all that stuff that they're meeting somewhere. They're like in a hidden meeting and saying, Parkinson, we don't know nothing about no Parkinson. Obviously we can't run and jump for 24 hours a day, but something's kicking in, and I know that from my own experience. Because I've had nights when I'm sitting on the side of the stage and they're like, how many you want to do? And I'm like, 2, 1.5. And they're like, okay, we'll get you off as soon as we can. And I get out there and say, let's go, man, forget that. And I get back on about 20 minutes later.
Once you get on stage, whatever it is kicks on, do you think it has to do with the music or with your muscle memory and your body knowing that you're on stage and performing?
I think a combination. I mean, it's just because if I just work out, I do feel better, but it's not the same better. The love thing comes in there when it's the music and all that stuff. I think it's part, physical and part spiritual. Because when I'm doing what I love doing, the joy that comes out, it's like people say there's chemical reactions in the body when you feel love or hate and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And whatever's reacting is making it so it's temporarily blocked.
So that's a good place that our scientists might be able to start then.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the love, the joy, the music.
Yeah. It's all non-scientific explanations right here, but something's kicking in some scientific something.
And it's natural.
Yeah.
Well, Sheldon, thank you so much for coming to spend time with me.
You made my day.
You made my day.
Yeah, you made my day. So I thank you, and whatever I can do to help your cause, just let me know. Watch this lady. She's good. She's sincere.
Say cheese.
I hate cheese. Thank you very much. I come from the universe.